The only opponent that I really fear for the Eagles comes from within. You by the way, kick dick back here, and what a time to be an Eagle fan. You're sitting at 8-2 after beating the Detroit Lions with an all-world Super Bowl caliber defense, and you're looking at the best is yet to come because the Eagles control their own destiny, are in first place, and are a number one seed in the conference. It doesn't get better than this, doesn't it? Well, you know what? It always seems like there's something going on. There's some sort of controversy. And right now, the whole offense and everything going on with the offense seems to be the problem. Now, before we get into it, a few things we got to talk about. First thing, this came out yesterday. Eagles offensive tackle Lane Johnson is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks after suffering a Liz Frank sprain. Now, it sucks to lose Lane Johnson 4 to 6 weeks. Okay, it does. I hate it. We know how much difference this offensive line is when he's out there on the field. And here's what I'll say. It compounds all the offensive problems we've already had. Now we got to deal with this as well, okay? So thank God the Eagles got Fred Johnson back. Thank God Howie went and did that because I think he's capable at replacing him for 4 to 6 weeks. And I wish Lane nothing but the best, speedy recovery. And the good news is that, and there's not really good news with an injury, but at least it's not for the season and it doesn't require surgery. We are going to get Lane Johnson back in time for the playoffs. And maybe he comes back, his Liz Frank injury is healed, maybe he's more fresh, and maybe it actually benefits the Eagles in the playoffs because you have an older veteran, didn't have to play the rest of the season until the playoffs. So maybe in some weird way it could benefit us. I'm just trying to think positive about the situation. Obviously, I don't want Lane to ever be out or hurt. It sucks, and we wish him nothing but the best. Now, we got a huge game coming up. We got a monster game coming up, okay? And people can't look at this game and think it's not a big deal. I'm going to be busy. It's not a big deal. We'll be all right. This is a huge game because this is another chance for the Eagles to go out and beat a team that is a legitimate playoff contender. And this team is now a playoff contender. I'm sorry. Especially after this weekend, they showed it. If you look at the playoff picture, and if you look at it, right, the Eagles are currently the number one seed. They have the same record as the Rams, but they've got the tiebreaker, and they've got one less conference loss. So Eagles are the 1 seed. You have the Rams the 2 seed, and the team and the game I'm talking about is the Chicago Bears game. That Chicago Bears game, Eagles-Bears, is huge because the Bears, they got 7 wins, and they're a 3 seed. Now, you may not think that they're for real, they're going to finish or win that division, but no matter what, they're a 3 seed, and they're dangerous. So the Eagles are going to have to go out on Black Friday and beat the Bears. And once they do that, I mean, they have beaten everybody pretty much that they could that they've played that are playoff contenders, okay? So that Bears game is a huge game. And look, I expect the Eagles to win, okay? And the Eagles got a game this weekend. The Rams play the Buccaneers Sunday Night Football. We'll be streaming that game. Hopefully they'll lose. And hopefully the Eagles, I mean, there's a chance the Eagles could have the division wrapped up before December even gets here. But that Bears game is a huge game for the Eagles. No doubt about it. And the Eagles are sitting, they're sitting in, look, for all the controversy, everything going on, the Eagles are sitting pretty right now at that number 1 seed, okay? And we can look at the schedule really quick, what the Eagles have left. And this is why I think it's important, because the Bears team is a legitimate contender. Okay, so you got this week, then you got the Bears, huge game. Then you got the Chargers, the Raiders. Okay, you could win both those games. But remember, the Chargers, the Raiders, and the Buffalo Bills are all out-of-conference games. They don't affect any tiebreakers, okay? And I think the Eagles go through those teams. And I think Washington, they beat twice. So essentially, I think the easy part of the Eagles' schedule is once you beat the Bears, it's it. I think you're in a good position. Maybe the toughest game you have is that Buffalo game, but I think the Eagles are better than Buffalo. So I don't think it'll be a problem. The Eagles are in a great situation. You just have to take care of business, okay? And this leads me to what my biggest fear about this team is going forward. It ain't these teams that we're going to play. It ain't these opponents. It's the opponent from within. It's all this crap that's going on, all this nonsense. Like right now, and forgive me, I'm having problems with my computers and downloading clips and stuff today. For whatever reason, I'm having trouble with it. So there's not a lot of that in here today. But, you know, you had Derrick Gunn on the post-game show with Seth Joyner and those guys. They were talking, and he said there's a lot of people in the Eagles organization that are frustrated with the quarterback situation. He went on to talk about how Jalen Hurts is, you know, kind of going rogue with what the coaches want, not throwing to guys that are open at times and things like that. And he said this is almost like Carson Wentz Part II type situation. All right. Now, I am not in the business calling anybody a liar. I don't think he's a liar. I think Derrick Gunn is getting information from somebody and he's relaying it. But I do think that this always happens with the Eagles, especially with players on the Eagles. When you start to look at the coaching staff to why things are going the way they're going, it always seems like there's a report that comes out on the quarterback, on the receiver, whether it's Hurts or A.J. Brown, and it always happens. You know, to say that the front office is frustrated with Hurts over a first-year coordinator and stuff doesn't make sense. This guy just won you a Super Bowl and a Super Bowl MVP, okay? So this is just a lot of outside noise that's creating a lot of problems that don't need to be there. And the truth is none of it matters at the end of the day. Like whether who's right, who's wrong, all that stuff doesn't matter. What matters is can this offense and these coaches, can they go out and fix it? Can you fix this, mother humper? All right? And I'm not saying you have to go out and make this a 30 points per game offense. Your defense is world class. Your defense is stifling. But can you go out there and can you make this offense competent? Can you make them be able to move the ball? Make them be able to score points when they need to? If they score 20 points a game or more in the playoffs, they're going to go to the Super Bowl and win the whole thing again with this defense. But you've got to be competent on offense, and it's getting worse. The last 2 weeks I thought were Jalen Hurts' worst games of the season. I thought a lot of guys' worst game of the season, and it doesn't look like the coaches have any answers or care about changing anything on offense because all they view it is don't turn over the ball and we'll be fine. And look, that may work, but it may not work. You know, if your defense has one off game or doesn't play well or has a letdown, you need the offense to be able to pick it up. And when I talk about competent, I'm talking about you get an interception like in the game versus the Vikings or like in the Lions game, right? DeJean gets it, and you go 3 yards and kick a field goal. Like you got to score touchdowns there. So to me, whether or not the Eagles could win a Super Bowl depend on can this coaching staff get this offense turned around and running right. Can they figure it out and get them to be at least competent? That's all we're asking for. Just be competent because the defense is going to take care of everything else. Okay, and when you get home field advantage, and that's why home field advantage to me is so important for the Eagles. You get home field advantage, and the Rams with their offense has to come in the cold, or Detroit with their offense has to come into Philly with the cold. It's a great neutralizer, especially if the Eagles aren't running on all cylinders offensively. Okay, now we're going to talk later in the week about what things they can do to fix the offense specifically. But in this video, we got to recognize the biggest threat to the Eagles is that they can't figure out and is incompetency in is basically, I can't even speak today. I'm such a moron. But, it's the inability of the coaches to get this offense to play at a better level, at a higher level. Okay, because to me, it's the coaches that are holding the offense and the offensive players back. And until they can get those guys to start playing, we got a problem. If they can play like they did consistently against Minnesota, nobody will beat us. If they could play like the second half of the Rams game, nobody could beat us. Okay? But they got to be better. And that's the key to the Eagles right now. What's the key to the Eagles going to the Super Bowl? The defense, what you have, of course, injuries for everybody, but your defense playing the way they're playing, and then your offense getting back to a competent level where they're playing at least decent football, and they're moving the ball, and they're taking advantage and scoring in the red zone and taking advantage of turnovers. You get that, then yes, the Eagles are going to go back and they're going to repeat, and I don't think anybody can beat them. And there's a lot of things that we could do, no doubt about it. And we'll talk about those later in the week. And I just want to give a special shout out to Nakobe Dean and Jalen Phillips, because those two guys single-handedly changed this defense. The additions to those two guys, this defense is completely different. And I thought Nakobe Dean was the best player on the field, all right, the other day. And I'm amazed at how great he's been since come back. He looks better now and more dominant this year than he was last year. That's a good thing. This is a scary, scary defense. No doubt about it. With that said, I'll be streaming in the morning, and then we'll have another video out tomorrow, Wednesday afternoon. With that said, take care. Talk to you later. Of course, don't be a dingbat. Remember, it's our vision. We're all just living in it. So the Eagles' defense has gone from the mid-20s in the last 2 weeks to, I think, 17 overall defense. All right, their defense is flying up the statistics charts. They're flying up the leader charts. They're going to be in the top 10 soon. They keep playing the way they're playing. Say what you want about Jalen Hurts and his struggles and all those kind of things, but early on in the season, look, Jalen Hurts helped us get to 4-0, and now this defense is catching up and surpassing the offense. And so, I think we're in really good shape despite all the drama. I think we're really good shape going forward for another title run. With that said, Denzel Washington out. That's all, folks.
The brother screwed us.